and it still happened. It's that's life.
Yes, I know. Okay.
Hi, Megan. Hi, Jada. Hi, Shine Your Light Collective.
Hi,
Love
everyone.
with something called Life. Oh, that's pretty. The Redwood Circle.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. This is great.
Yeah, there's lots of people joining us. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, shall we do an introduction?
Sure. You go first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Ann Clark from powertotheplurals.com. I am also the founder of Alter Nation, a support group on Facebook, and we run a website, powertotheplurals.com. And together with a team of other people, including Azzy here, we are starting a nonprofit for plural people, including a platform that provides a WarmLine, a email and chat function. So that is why we are hosting this live stream, a Q&A where you can ask your questions. And at the same time, we are fundraising money for this project.
Yes. So I'm Azzy, and I'm the host of the Luna System, and I'm also the admin for Dissociative Identity Disorder Support Group on Facebook. And I guess I'm helping. I'm helping with this project because we do want to open up some opportunities for all plurals worldwide. We want to make sure that everybody has a space to be able to reach out and speak when they need to. So I just feel this is really important, and we hope that you guys do too and see the need for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Azzy. Great. Okay. So you are welcome to ask your questions about plurality, DID, OSDD, other forms of multiplicity or plurality, or of course about the nonprofit or the WarmLine or anything else you want to know.
Somebody's alarm is going off, so if you guys hear that, I apologize.
It happens.
It was loud.
Yes. Okay. We have a 20-second delay between us and you people in the chat. So please be patient while we wait to receive your questions. Maybe we can start with a question from the group, Elsa, see if you want to.
Sure. Do you want me to start with mine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the first question we have is from Martin Bass. It says, what is the best way to communicate with alters who act as a persecutor due to fear?
Wow.
Well, communicating with them, I think, is, going to be different for each one, but how do you figure out why they're being a persecutor, maybe? Do you think that's what they're asking? Why they're being a persecutor?
I think more like, how can you communicate with them? Because I think we kind of like people, alters, whatever name you want to use, are having persecutor behavior because of possibly trauma, right? That seems the most logic explanation. We know that they often are called misguided protectors because they just want to protect, but they don't know what the best way is. They've never had the right example. And so I think by setting that example, especially also in your communication, by having good open communication where you acknowledge the other part and affirm that you've heard what they said. And I think that can be very helpful. Yeah. And patience.
Yes, patience is key. And just showing compassion, really communicate with compassion and kindness.
Yeah.
The best way, because they really are just showing trauma in a different way. They're showing, fear and everything that you said. They're communicating in ways that maybe they've seen before, or they're acting out in a certain way. And if you come to them saying, hey, I understand that you've been hurt, or that maybe you're feeling something, let's try to find a better way and maybe help them figure out ways that they can express the harmful behavior in better ways.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can look at the comments in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like we have the first question from the Redwood Circle. It says, this is super relevant. When we were first coming out, we called LGBT and other hotlines, but always had to guess call by call if we were safe. How will you make a truly plural WarmLine? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a
Would you
good
like to
question
answer
for sure. Yes, thank you, Redwood Circle. So one of the things that we really aim for is to make sure that everyone who volunteers or works for the Plural Association, but also the WarmLine, is plural themselves. So when you call the WarmLine, you will definitely speak to another plural. Maybe that person has the ID, maybe they are androgenic, maybe they have a different background, but at least they know what it's like to share their life with the other people in a system. And I think coming from that basis, it just gives a certain guarantee that you do not get indeed when you call another hotline or LGBTQ plus line.
Right. And we will be, of course, screening people to make sure that they are plural when they're volunteering. That's one of the questions we will be asking.
Yes. And of course, our volunteers will be trained before the WarmLine starts. Before you actually speak to someone, we will make sure that they are properly trained.
Right.
Both in how to work on a WarmLine, but also on the topic of plurality and the many kinds of plurality, because that's also very important to us, that everyone who experiences manyness is welcome.
Right. Oh, hi, Eric. Eric is one of my good friends. I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, we do have another question. It says, from Nero's Reality, it says, we're super curious as to why our inner world is super fragmented. We have no connections between each other's inner world residences.
Yes, that's a very good question. As you might know, I love inner worlds, and I have many videos on the topic. Some people, they have more trouble to reach their inner world or certain parts of their inner world. And I think my best tip is to find someone inside who does have access, and then to practice with that person, to visit safe other places in the inner world. And some people have great success with self-hypnosis when they do that. It's one of our favorite techniques to use when we're working on our inner world. And I think that's a great technique to work with self-hypnosis with someone else in your system who has better access, because eventually it becomes easier for those different parts of consciousness to come together. And I think also trust building inside helps greatly with that.
I agree. And if for whatever reason, you can't do self-hypnosis, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you couldn't, maybe build that system with people you trust where they could be a messenger for you, where you could build like a line of communication. Well, I'm going to call this person. I know we're using outside terminology here, but like, hey, I'm going to call this person and they can contact this other person I'm trying to reach, or they can contact somebody else that I know can reach them, so that we can build, a full like train of communication.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ozzy. There is a question about the WarmLine. It says, what countries do you plan on starting with when starting up the WarmLine? Because we are assuming you will have to build up to being worldwide available for phoning. That's not exactly how it works, because we will try our very best to make this whole platform online. That way it's the cheapest for us, donation-wise, but also you don't want to have people having to have phone credit in order to be able to make the call, right? So we hope to be able to do it from an online basis that then also, of course, has a phone number available. But as long as you speak English, you should be able to start out right from the start when the WarmLine starts. And then over time, we hope to add more different languages to and volunteers, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is something that we are asking as well for volunteers of what languages they speak so that we can be a little more diverse in that situation. We do want it to be as broad as possible so that
Mm,
everybody, even non-English speakers, will eventually have the opportunity to contact our line as well. Um, but um, there will be volunteers. Sorry, I had somebody talking inside. There will be volunteers from all over the world in different time zones too. So even if we don't have people with different languages in the beginning, we will still have people probably in your time zone. So if they said that, sorry, we will, sorry about that. We will have some worldwide stuff going on for everybody.
yeah, awesome. Thank you, Azzy.
Okay, so back to the comments
Yeah, sure.
from the Redwood Circle again. They're saying that it would have been nice if people would have said it was okay to switch on call and that wasn't weird. Yeah, I've heard that a lot from people that they get told not to switch, but I'm not exactly sure how you can always control that.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty rude,
Mm.
and that is not going to be the same for us. We don't care. I mean, we're going to be plurals ourselves. So if you need to switch, you want somebody else to come out, or they want to come out, they're welcome. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah. And if that's scary to you or you don't feel comfortable with that, maybe especially in the beginning when you don't know really yet what a WarmLine is, it's also okay to not switch. But if you want to switch,
Yeah.
of course, that's allowed. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's welcomed. And it's the whole idea behind the plural WarmLine, because we all want to create a place where all of us can safely communicate with someone else who will understand us.
Exactly. The binary snow says, will there be nonverbal ways to talk to people with the WarmLine for nonverbal or semi-verbal headmates? Great question. Yes, we are planning on having a chat option that you can have them type out responses. And if they don't know how to type, maybe they can have somebody that is able to type for them, be co-conscious, so that they can get their information, their questions, their concerns out in that way.
Yes. And we also will have an email option. So if chat
Yeah.
goes too quick for you, too fast, you could write an email together, help the nonverbal part to communicate their feelings on paper or digital paper, I guess, and email it to us. And one of our team members will email you back.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay. Let's see where we are. Maybe we should share the link to where people can donate towards this project. Wouldn't that be a great idea?
Yeah. And
yes, and email it to us, and one of our team members will email you back. Sorry.
Oh, I muted mine earlier. It did the same. I'm sure everybody was shocked by the reverb.
Okay, so if you want to donate towards this project, there are a few options. There are super chats available here on YouTube. If you don't know how that works, though, there is an easy available link for you where you can make donations towards this cause, the WarmLine and the nonprofit. We have split up our fundraising project into different parts. So today we are fundraising to register the nonprofit, which costs 500 euros. And then we will also want to build our website, create our website, so we can just more easily give you more information about what we're doing and what is going on. So that is our goal for today. I've posted the link to make donations into the chat. And yeah, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And we are so looking forward to this project.
Definitely. Let's see where we're at again. thank you for everybody's comments saying that they think it's a great idea. We do too. We think that this will be really helpful because we have seen where people feel very scared to call others because of their plurality, and we don't want you guys to feel like that anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Ozzy.
Shade Laura says, how will the WarmLine work? Like Sarah Ann said, there will be an online number so that it will be available for people worldwide, that people will be able to call or chat. We'll have a chat option or email option, just to repeat what was said a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So we'll all be an online platform that anyone worldwide who speaks English can call to. And then over time, we hope to add volunteers who speak other languages than English as well. We have a worldwide team. I'm from the Netherlands. Ozzy is from the United States, Texas. And we have Laura from Australia, but it's 6 a.m. there at the moment. So obviously they are in Sleepland.
And we have been getting people wanting to volunteer, a few people from the United States. So we'll have plenty of people available to speak to.
Yes.
Get
and volunteer options. Go ahead, Ozzy.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, this is why we need to get everything started, because everybody does want, everybody seems really excited about this WarmLine. So that's why we're asking for donations, so that we can get everything started as soon as possible and get this resource available to you all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And volunteer options there will be a form on our website, thepluralassociation.org, that will go live after it's built. And we first have to do this fundraiser for that. So that's what we're doing right now. And there will be a form to sign up as volunteer if you're interested for both the Plural Association and its WarmLine. So some people might only want to volunteer for the WarmLine, and other people might also want to do other things. So we welcome the collaboration, and feel free to contact us through that form once it goes live.
Yes. Don't forget, you're free to post any questions in chat and we'll get to it. But while we're waiting, I think we have some questions from group. Since I read one earlier, you want to read one from yours?
Yes. It's a question by Melissa, and it says, why do we keep finding new altars? I think that's a great question, because, we do keep finding new altars. And for us, one thing that we learned quite early on in our process was what we call keep the door open. So when we close the door, then we prevent others from finding us. And so we want to create that opportunity where everyone inside and outside is welcome. And so we keep the door open, or we try to at least. So that's for us, I guess, why we find new altars, because we keep the door open. I think it's also a process of getting to learn to know yourselves more and more and deeper over the years.
Right.
And then I think lastly, there might be people in systems who are more traumatized or more scared, and hence they hide more than other parts.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, is that oftentimes there are parts that are hidden, maybe out of fear, or maybe they just don't feel secure enough to say, hey, I'm here. Or maybe they've gone exploring somewhere in the inner world and they just haven't been seen for a while. So there could be many reasons why new altars are showing up. But also, you can have other altars form later in life too. So they might be totally new, and they might show up because they are new to your system.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially if there's a need or a lack within a system, that can happen.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I see. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you?
I was going to say there are questions in the chat.
Oh, okay, that's what I was looking at.
So misfunctional multiplicity.
Yeah, they said that I would love to volunteer. Great. So once we get everything going, be sure to check out the website so that you can fill out the form, and we can definitely use some help.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your interest. Their other question is, how can I fundraise for this? So, one of the things you can do is share our posts and invite your friends and plural allies to make donations, towards this. I've just posted the link in the comment section, and it can also be found on our website, which is online. That is powertotheplurals.com. So that is how you can fundraise. Of course, you can hold your own fundraiser if you'd like. We will make a post about that later next week, where we will give you some ideas to hold your own fundraiser to help this project grow and fruit into existence.
Right. And if you have any of your own ideas to add, like, hey, I've done fundraisers this way before and it worked really well, please share that, because we are open to new ideas as well.
Yeah, for sure. Roy is asking if we have thought about creating a 501c3 in the US to make donations tax deductible. We have thought about that for sure. The solution that we have come up with is to make a nonprofit in the Netherlands, because the startup cost is a lot cheaper. It's only 500 euros. And then from there, we can see if in the future we will also make a nonprofit in the US for tax deductible donations. But most of the people who donate to us are plurals, because this is a by plurals for plurals project. And those people most often do not donate enough to be able to do the tax deductible thing anyway. So for now, we have chosen to make the nonprofit in the Netherlands for the lowest startup cost, and because we have that opportunity. And then after that, we will look into if we want a different nonprofit, the same nonprofit but a different nonprofit registered in the US. Thank you so much for your question. That's a good one.
I did see another question before that from Settler System that says, what's the difference between DID, OSDD type 1A and 1B, and ego states? That's a really good question. So dissociative identity disorder is a dissociative disorder, just like OSDD type 1A and 1B. Typically, the biggest difference that I've seen is the amnesia between your alters. So with OSDD, people don't typically have amnesia. And so they don't have the blank spaces between switching. 1A and 1B, I think I'll have to let you answer that if you know, because I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look at the DSM.
Yes, I'm also not exactly sure what is the 1A and what is the 1B.
Right.
Like this on top of my head, but the difference is one is no amnesia, and the other one is that you do have parts, but they do not take over. It's more like passive influence.
Right. Okay, I remember that now.
And then ego states is what everyone has.
Right.
Everyone, plural or not, have ego states. And I think that the people in our system also have their own ego states. But that's my personal opinion. Don't quote me on it.
And an ego state would be your basics, like my work personality or my party personality. We're gonna do, or your basic differences between you, where you might act differently between different groups of friends and family. Everybody has those states that, I don't want to be so over the top in front of my family, or these friends are work friends, so I can't do something in front of them that I might do in front of people that I hang out with every day. Those are ego states.
For sure. Shine Your Light Collective knew the answer. 1B is no amnesia, and 1A is then no switching and passive influence.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shine Your Light Collective. If you haven't yet, they have an amazing YouTube channel. If it's still online, I hope so. If so, check them out.
I think I follow them, or I used to. If they're still on there, then I still do. Or subscribed, that's the correct word. I Okay.
So the OS is asking in the chat, related to nonverbal communication, would you consider making an AAC, augmentative and alternative communication option for chat? So people could choose from a list of pictures to communicate, etc. Yes, we will for sure consider that. Thank you so much for that suggestion.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yes. Alex says, I'm so sad that we in the UK, even if therapists started to be much more open and educated, that still it's so silent, shuffled under the carpet disorder. Yeah, for sure. I hear
It's
you
really
on that,
sad.
Alex.
People don't want to really discuss some of the issues that often cause plurality or DID. They don't want to discuss trauma. They don't want to accept that it is a thing. So they don't want to accept that this is an issue, because then they would have to accept the traumas or the child abuse type trauma.
Yeah, in the case of DID, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to have a sip of my water.
You're welcome, Roy, for the explanation.
So Hurry says, hi, since we discovered being plural, alters that never fronted but were always there began to front. Is it possible to go from OSDD 1A to OSDD 1B, or did we always just have OSDD 1B? Thanks.
I think that sometimes people who don't have amnesia can develop it because maybe something happens in the system where they're like, we can't let you remember this anymore. Or, you know, it could be something simple like that. Like, okay, this is causing a lot of issues. So we're going to start separating. I've heard of people where that has happened before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they always.
You don't always know that you have amnesia, right?
Right. Because
you might be like thinking, you know, you remember everything from childhood and then figuring out you actually have no idea how you learned to ride a bike or something, right? Yeah. You're like, oh, wait a second. Other people remember that? Yeah. Story of my life.
Yeah. I was just thinking like, yeah, I don't remember any of that.
Right. Yeah. So I think that it works mostly like a spectrum. And so we are at different places on that spectrum. And then I think that at different times in our lives, we are at different places on that spectrum as well. Just as that we have good days and bad days. We have good communication days and bad communication days, a lot of amnesia and no amnesia days. And I think it's never so black and white as that it's, you know, sometimes the disordered part, and especially the amnesia, is really still brought in a split personality way where we, you know, we remember nothing or we remember everything. And I don't think it works like that. I think it's much more diverse and on a spectrum.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. My opinion anyway.
Yeah. And then I think on the diagnosis part, so going from 1A to 1B, I think it happens like technically on paper, but I don't think it's the correct way to put it like that, because there's no other disorder in the DSM where you go from, you know, one disorder to the next because you heal more, or because you get improved internal communication, or because you get memories, you know, back, or whatever. You have less amnesia, no amnesia. So I don't think it should work like that, but I know that sometimes it does work on that. And maybe it's because someone was misdiagnosed, right? And you know, that's a good reason to change the diagnosis. But I think the change on where you are on the spectrum, I think it's weird when doctors then also change our diagnoses.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see you, everyone here. And thank you all so much for your questions in the chat as well.
Yes. Hi, Jem. Okay. Hurry Glass says ours is more so. We have had a full team of alters with inner communication and inner worlds our whole life. But since we found the plural community and discovered how it worked, we began fronting. Yeah, and we have a question from me actually in alternation that is sort of about that. Why is it that alters start fronting more once they're acknowledged? Because sometimes there's fear, like, oh, nobody knows about me, and so I'm just going to stay quiet and hope that they don't see me. But once they are, it's like, hey, I've been seen, I might as well talk. So they start showing up more, or they start feeling more confident. So everybody starts seeing that person be acknowledged and noticed. So they're like, hey, well, if they're being acknowledged, I want to be acknowledged too, because, you know, that's, I don't want to say human nature because, you know, not all of us are, but, you know, it's perfectly natural for somebody to be like, hey, I'm here too. I want to be important. I want to feel important, because you are all important. So I think that's why they start showing up more.
Yeah, and I think what's also possible is that we were just not aware of other people fronting. Right, and now we know better how it works, or we can have better communication, and so we notice, like, oh, wait a second, I switched, that wasn't me. Right, and so yeah, I think that's also normal development of plurality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alex is asking why some people call their system by a name, and then alters have names and others don't, and where do the names come from? So names, ages, and that kind of thing is called elaboration within the clinical community. And what it means is that some it's also like a spectrum, I guess. And so some people have a lot of elaboration, and they have, for example, their own background stories, and other people have less of elaboration, and so they might all use the same name, or all have the same gender, or, you know, anything like that. And so it varies per system, is different for every system. And then system names is something that I think came from the online community, where people just wanted to collectively have a name for their system.
Right. And where the names come from, it depends. It could come from them. They named themselves, or some, like, sorry, got interrupted. So they could name themselves, or maybe they don't come with a name, and you could suggest a name. So it really just depends. It could come from anywhere. It's totally up to the system, how it works. You could, if somebody doesn't have a name, feel free to offer them one.
Yeah, or ask if they have a name, if they want a name, if they can come up with something they like. And it's also okay to change your name. Maybe you are named something now and you want to change it later. That's okay. Yeah. And if you don't have names, that's also okay.
Yeah, if you don't want one, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
What was the artist that was a symbol? Prince? You could be like Prince. You could be a symbol.
Okay.
Okay, it says from the Redwood Circle, we tried to donate via Super Chats, but found the coffee was much easier because it lets me use PayPal. Going to give monthly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, and that's good information to have. I'm glad to know that coffee allows you to use PayPal. But yeah, a big thank you.
Yes, thank you so much to the Redwood Circle. So one thing that we might want to explain right now, Azzy, is why we give the option for monthly donations.
Yes.
So we know from other WarmLines who have gone before us, who are not plural specific, that a call costs about $10 a month. $10 per call. And so we want to be able to provide our calls for free to all the plurals we need them. And so people will probably call, again and again, and other people will call us again and again. And so we want to have that continuity that we will be here from January to December and again the next year. And so it's very important, and we depend on the community support and the monthly donations to keep this project running for a long time. So even though our fundraiser today is for a very specific goal to set up the nonprofit, which costs 500 euros, and to build the website. But besides that, we depend on the monthly donations to provide consistency in our services.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to go through comments to make sure that we're not missing anything.
Yes.
Oh, so Hurried Glass says, really super looking forward to supporting you all. We plan on working with the plural, gaming, and LGBTQ communities to advocate or to advocacy and all. We'd love to do a Twitch live stream fundraiser. That would be fantastic. If you can do that, that would be great. Definitely get with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a great idea.
It is.
Another question that came in the chat from Kate, I think I pronounced it correctly, is it normal to have a big subsystem of fragments? So maybe we should explain what fragments are and what a subsystem is, and then answer the question.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
Okay, so a fragment is an alter, a part, a person in a system who has a specific task or a specific role. And besides of that, they don't have much experience in life yet. Sometimes a fragment does get interests in other things in life and, gains more experience in other areas of life, and then becomes more of an alter. It's difficult sometimes to differentiate. And then a subsystem is a system within a system, or a layer within a system of different parts. And sometimes it's harder to communicate with subsystems, not always, but sometimes. And is it normal to have a big subsystem of fragments? Yes, it can be normal for some people. That's their normal. Every system is different. Everyone with plural is different. And there are many people who have subsystems with lots of fragments, ourselves included.
We do have subsystems, but ours aren't that large. So there are obviously people that aren't necessarily huge like systems, but or at least we don't think we are, that might still have subsystems.
Yeah.
We're still discovering how many we have in our system. So I can't exactly tell you that we're not a huge system.
Yeah.
But as far as I know,
it's a journey.
It is. Okay.
Settler System is asking, I'm working on our system journals. Do you guys use something like that too? Yes, actually, we use a bullet journal, and we have a very elaborate video on the topic on this channel, actually here on Power to the Plurals on YouTube. That has a lot of information on how we use our journal and how we make it plural friendly and inclusive for our own system, of course, but still.
I don't usually journal that often, and I don't think anybody in my system cares to. So every time we've purchased one, it just sort of sits there.
Yeah.
We try. We don't do it.
Thank you. The OS is asking in the chat, do you have a rough idea when the WarmLine might be up and running, or when you are hoping to have it up and running by? So the answer is no. Obviously, we hope to be online as soon as possible, but it depends on donations, and it depends on how fast the platform can be built. And, that also depends on donations. So, but we hope to be online in 2021 for sure. And most of us on the team are disabled folks. So we just want to give ourselves the time as well to make sure that we set up a good functional system. And of course, we have to train our volunteers before we can go live as well. So I hope that answers the question as well as we can at this time when we're still in the startup phase.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I don't see any current questions, so maybe I can answer one from group.
Sure.
From my group. Jasmine Toppin, sorry if I say your name wrong, says, when you meet a new alter that's holding a severe amount of trauma, what's the best way to make them feel welcome, at home, valid, and loved by the system? I suppose it would be any way you would do the same for anybody else. Just speak to them and tell them or acknowledge them and say, hey, we see you, we hear you, we want you to know that you're cared for and loved. Always assume they're listening, by the way, because even if you don't hear them talking, they might still be there listening. So just maybe even talk out loud and just say, hey, whoever's listening, I want you to know that I care. I want to help you feel comfortable and loved, and I want you to know that you're welcome to speak up and be heard. And, just a normal conversation.
Yeah, one thing that we do in our system is that we have meetings where anyone is welcome to come. No one is obligated to come, but everyone is welcome to come, and you can talk about your concerns there. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to check in with other people and to make them feel welcome and heard. And I think, one great thing that you can do over time is to build a culture inside where you feel welcome and loved. And then I think from there, other people also feel loved and welcome.
Yes, thank you.
The Silly System is asking, is there going to be some non-trauma based plurals working for the WarmLine? Yes, absolutely. That is a mandatory thing that we feel needs to happen for the plural WarmLine, for sure.
Absolutely.
Sammy is asking if the chat will be, or if it is live chat and this stream will be available afterwards. Yes, it will. And then Binary Snow is asking, do you know any tips to calm a child alter who wants their body's parents and can't have them, who don't accept another alter as a replacement? That sounds really harsh. Hard.
Let me read it again. Do you know any tips? It depends on, I guess, why they can't have them. Maybe if the parents are not healthy, you can explain to them, hey, I know you love them. I understand this, but they are not healthy for our body, and this is why. You have to understand that children understand a lot more than we give them credit for. So if you're honest with them and tell them, you don't have to give details, that's not necessary, but just be honest with them and say, this is not something that is healthy for us, and this is why we can't be around them. But we all love you, and we want you to feel safe with us. And, just open lines of communication are really important all the time, even for children, child alters.
Yeah, for sure. I think, starting out in the inner world is a very safe option. And I think that practicing and being in the outside world while it's safe time, in the here and now is also really helpful. Just doing, I don't know, some coloring or crafting activities, or maybe watching something on YouTube, something simple. But just being here present in the moment and realizing that it's safe is a great start. I think then from there, these are the things you can work on, because if you're not feeling safe yet, it's very hard to do this work. So I think, those are the first steps, and it's a slow process.
Yes. I'm not sure I understand the question from Settler System. Does this one have another big friend outside?
I think it's in response to Binary Snow, their question.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sounds like a great question, Binary Snow, for the WarmLine, and to dive some more in depth there,
Oh, yeah.
one-on-one with someone. But thank you so much for asking the question.
Hi, Sammy.
I'm glad you have stuffed animals. That's great.
This is one of our little's favorites.
Yes. Someone is asking in the chat, what are your intentions in creating this association? So our intentions are to empower all plurals and to provide a place, a platform where people are welcome to be themselves and where they can talk to someone with a life experienced plural, where they, can get information, but also just a listening ear where they can share their worries and their stories. Where people can be heard, because we think that's super important and it's currently lacking. We see it as a worldwide issue to get any form of help, whether that is therapy or anything else. It's just very difficult as a plural or DID system. And so our intention is to create the place where everyone is welcome and can get a listening ear and, if wanted, some advice from
Right.
someone with also lived experience, plural. Yeah, go ahead, Ozzy.
And while we do have groups where we can make posts, this is something that would be immediate contact, and so that you can have somebody on the other end within, seconds. So sometimes talking to somebody live also feels more personal than talking to somebody on a screen. So we want to give that personal touch because sometimes that's necessary to really reach someone.
Yeah, for sure. And it also just communicates easier, right?
Yeah.
So we want to provide that place.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Settler System.
Do you have more questions from your group you'd like to answer?
Sure. Yes. Why are new alters, sometimes hesitant to share their names or personal information?
Fear, possibly.
Be
a big concern for them.
Yeah, for sure. Fear. It's like giving away something that might be used against you, or maybe was used against you in the past, and then to share that information in the now can feel very scary.
Right. And it could be something that something like they don't feel like they have a lot of control in life, and that is something that they can control. So they hold on to it tightly just to feel like they've got something that they can keep to themselves.
Yes, for sure. Sorry, my microphone was muted.
It's okay.
Yeah, great answer.
Steph, I'm sorry that you felt alone. A lot of us have been there, and we do understand, and that is one of the biggest reasons we want to make this WarmLine, is because a lot of us do feel very alone, and we want the warmth of somebody else being right there for us in that moment that we need them.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, everyone, so much for your questions that are coming in and for sharing the posts. That's really helpful to invite your friends here to join us during this fundraiser. And thank you also for the donations that are coming in. We really appreciate it. And we're having a lot of fun doing this. Yes, yeah. Please keep sharing the posts and invite your friends.
So I have a few more questions.
Okay.
Jamar Slaw says, can alters fully take control of your body against your will? If yes, have you found any counters that work at least sometimes? Um, yes, altars can take control without you knowing, without asking permission. Once people start building better communication through methods we talked about earlier, about like reaching somebody that you can reach, and or just speaking out loud towards people, and building communication with others inside, then you can say, hey, I don't really appreciate when people come out during situations that aren't appropriate. You can start building rules, like system rules, so that you're not always being taken over, you know. So, but it is also important to allow the opportunity for others to come out, even inappropriate times. So make sure you talk to each other and figure out what would work and when would work for them to come out instead of just saying, hey, you never get to come out and have any part of life. Say, well, maybe we can do it on the weekend so that we're not at work and it's not impeding whatever we're doing there. So maybe on the weekend it's your time.
Yeah, exactly. We also advise to reserve time at other times when other people can front, to reserve that time for them and to provide that opportunity.
Yes.
The Redwood Circle is saying in the chat, so we give talks publicly and sometimes get epic long emails from audience because each altar wants to write. How will you manage this additional volume if every single altar wants their own call? So if we have the capacity, that's a great opportunity. We're definitely gonna have to deal with this, with people who want a lot of calls or will want very long calls. And I think that at some times that's going to be possible, and at other times we will have to explain to people that there are other people waiting in line. We'll also want to talk to another plural, and I think that we can, explain this to people and get an understanding for that.
Right. And maybe explain that they're welcome to call back at a different time.
Yeah.
If they would like to, but that we have to give other people an opportunity as well to speak. So
yeah, for sure. Thank you for your questions to the Redwood Circle. Kata is asking, can interjects be persecutors? Yes, for sure. They can be any form of altar, like Binary Snow said in the chat.
Yes.
Sate is asking, how will you deal with discourse and related opinions, questions surrounding it? I know it's a contentious subject, but plurals kind of split on it. So, questions about discourse are welcome. It's one of the reasons you could call the Plural WarmLine if you want to know more about different system types, or, what the deal is with that. That's a great reason to give us a call. So yeah. I think discourse, in the WarmLine is going to be just people asking questions and us answering from an open-minded perspective and explaining that there are other forms of plurality out there. And, especially this WarmLine is so important that it's for everyone, because, one day you meet all the criteria for the DID diagnoses, and then over time, you lose you lose the access to that diagnosis, maybe because you don't have amnesia anymore, or because you're not distressed anymore by the disorder. But then you still have all your alters, and maybe you still have your DID label, but maybe not. And so we just want a place where everyone is welcome, no matter the background, and where we can also explain these things without it turning into a discourse, but just a conversation from one person to the other, from one plural to the other, about these things, because all questions are valid. And so we want to answer them all.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Do you have any more questions from your group? I know you had several, actually.
Yes. Give me 1 second. There we go. Yes, I have another question. Why do some alters age, but others are stuck in one age? Do you want to answer it?
I have to repeat that.
The question is, why do some alters age, but others are stuck on one age?
I guess it is another thing that depends on the system, but sometimes it could be trauma related, where maybe they just stopped aging based off of a trauma related incident, or maybe they just don't want to age anymore.
Yeah.
It's all just depends on your system.
Yeah, I think also what a therapist once explained to me, and I'm not sure how far it's true, but it was an interesting thought at least, was that in the inner world, there is no time. And so only by spending time outside in the safe here and now can we consciously realize that we are in the safe here and now. And then from there, we can grow. Another tip that they gave us was to stand next to an object, for example, and ask the little, like, how big do you think our body is? Like, what do you see? And then stand next to it and show like how big your body actually is. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. I'll make a video on it once with a more clear visual explanation of what I'm trying to explain. And then, but by seeing the physical difference of what they think versus how high, how tall you are actually are, is a good way, to maybe try to grow up if that's what that person wants, right? Some want to grow up, others don't. And yeah, can have many reasons.
Right. Okay, let me see. Settler System says, we have a little problem. My ex-persecutor has problems being alone. We had a flashback last. We and a little collapse because of this last night. How can I help him? Okay, so your persecutor or ex-persecutor has problems being alone. That might just be like an insecurity issue, possibly. Maybe help them find ways that they can feel secure in themselves, and help them realize that they don't need others to be strong. They've already come through whatever they've been through, and they're strong. Help them realize that and show them, or help them build ways to feel really confident, and that they'll be able to eventually be alone without being afraid or upset or whatever it is they're feeling.
Yeah, for sure. We work with a body system in our system, so everyone has their own body. I think that works great for loneliness. And I always think it's interesting. We also feel lonely a lot. It's interesting that we're plural and feeling lonely, right? And so I think that the solution lays, not only inside. Obviously, we also need outside contact with people. But part of it is to create a sort of body system where everyone knows they can fall back on someone else inside who can help them during difficult times or moments of the day.
Yeah, that's a great idea, buddy system. Seti says, do you have anyone who knows about tulpas or can answer questions from people interested in understanding or creating them? Do you have experience with that?
We are not a Tulpaman system, but we do know Tulpamancers, and we hope they will volunteer for the WarmLine for sure.
Yep.
And right now, we do not have a sign-up system yet for volunteers, but after that goes live, I'm sure more Tulpamancer systems will sign up. Send them the news, I guess,
Yeah.
and invite them to come and volunteer for us. Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. So I have another question, Azi.
All right.
It says, how do you get better communication with nonverbal alters?
There are apps that allow people to communicate without words.
Yes.
And I think you can even add your own pictures of stuff. So if you took a picture of something in your home, you could plug it in so they could see it and, you know, just select it. And it allows some people that opportunity to communicate without actually being verbal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tip. Apps. Another thing that you can try is to make contact in the inner world without language, right? Because in the inner world, things work a little bit different. It's more emotional and feeling based. And so what works great for us in our system is to make physical contact in the inner world by holding hands or hugging someone. Obviously, we ask consent for that. And then when we make that physical contact, we can try to focus on each other and try to feel what the other person is feeling and learn that way what is going on. And sometimes, you know, that's emotional, and other times it's more less deep, I guess. There's less depth to it, but it's always a really significant experience for our system when it works out that way. And so it's worth it to try it if you can, if you have an inner world where you can find each other and make physical contact inside.
Great tip.
DOS is asking in the chat, what are your plans for making sure diverse plurals like those from other marginalized communities feel safe/respected when using your services?
Everyone will be trained before they are able to volunteer. So we'll ensure that they are aware of other types of systems or plurality, and that they are willing to be welcoming to each of those types.
Yeah, and one of the things we want to offer is that you can ask if you have a need to talk to a certain person, you can ask for that. That's what we want to create. So maybe you are trans and you want to talk with someone who's plural and also trans. We can see if that person is online and available, and we can transfer your call to that volunteer who is specialized in that area. Or, you know, anything, any request, we can try to provide it for you, or make a call back when that person is available.
Right.
I hope that answers the question.
I see from Edith, what are those apps called? Let me look on my phone quickly and see if I still have.
Mine is called Help Talk.
I think that's the one we use too. Well, I don't typically use it, but which is why I don't know what it's called. There's also one with flashcards. It's just called flashcards.
The OS says the apps or programs for nonverbal communication are referred to as AAC, augmentative and alternative communication. Alternative communication. English is my second language. Sometimes it shows. Awesome.
Yeah, the ones that we have are the flashcards and the Help Talk.
Nice.
I thought we had another one, but I don't see it. It might be on my husband's phone. He probably uses it for our nonverbal alters.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from people in the chat? Thank you so much all for joining us and for sticking around for this fundraiser and this live stream.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Do you have other questions?
I do. I have one from you.
Oh.
It says, how do you get out of the plural closet? Would you recommend it? That's a great question. First of all, I would say really evaluate the people that are around you. Think about their personalities and if they're usually open to other types of things, and see if they're really negative about that kind of other kinds of stuff that people typically would be negative about. If they are, then they're probably not the best people to come out to about being plural. So for some people, yes, I do recommend it, but to others, it might not always be safe. So it's going to be system to system based. Just be careful. Do what's best for you. You don't have to tell people. You can remain anonymous in your plurality, but if it is safe, sure, why not? You have the right to be heard and seen. Each of your people inside, you have the right to, or alters, whatever you want to call people, you have the right to do whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, awesome. My own advice to myself is that maybe it's safer or safest to come out in certain areas of your life. So for example, you could make a dedicated social media profile that you use where you can be yourselves and where you can be out. And I think that's a very liberating thing to do if that's a safe opportunity, safe possibility for you. For myself, because it was my question.
Totally.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I do have a couple more if you don't, but if you've got some, go right ahead.
There are questions in the chat.
Sure are. Mine's a little slow, guys, so I apologize.
That's okay. The Redwood Circle says, DOS, that's a great question. The oppression of plurals is an extension of and overlaps with other oppressions like racism, colonialism, ableism. So it's definitely important to serve the most marginalized. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Thank you to the Redwood Circle. And Sate says, do you think there is any merit for other system types in learning some of the Topomancy guides? We have made guides for creation, which can maybe be adapted to bring alters forward. And things like switching and visualization. Yeah, that would be great. It would be great to get in contact with you about that in a different, more functional place than this chat. So please email us at contact@thepluralassociation.org or wait until our form is online on our website when it goes live. And we would love to get in contact with that about you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Autumn says, I really want to tell everyone in our life about being plural. They were all okay with us being trans, so I'm hoping this is a good sign. We hope with you. Yes.
I hope so too. Great. And good luck with that. And if you ever need support or more advice in doing so, you can always reach us through emails or on our Facebook groups. So that would be Alternation and Dissociative Identity Disorder Support Group. I can't talk suddenly.
Yes, thank you so much. Until the WarmLine is live, that is a great place to get your questions answered. Yes. Awesome. Do you have any tips on when no one wants to drive or is responding to grounding?
Let me think. Tips. You could, well, if nobody wants to do it, whoever is actually doing something, maybe play some music that people like, or do things that others like to maybe encourage them to want to come out and do what needs to be done. So for example, if you're going to work and the person who typically goes to work isn't wanting to come out, maybe do something that they like while they need to get ready so they can come out and be like, oh, okay, well, this isn't so bad. And it'll break that anxiety cycle that they're in or whatever reason they're not wanting to come. And it'll encourage them to come out.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to deal with. We find it very scary when it happens. And I think, the best thing for myself that I could advise myself is to just stay calm and that it will work itself out. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the chat? Feel free to post them.
Okay. I have another question from Sarah Giles, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
They say, how would you deal with an alter who is scaring the other alters as well as yourselves? As my daughter is really getting scared of one of her alters as he is hurting others, hurting her and lies to her. So I think that people that are typically doing that might be considered a persecutor. I don't know, possibly. But maybe start a conversation and get down to the root of it and ask them what they're really trying to communicate. Like, why are you doing these things? What are you really trying to say in this harmful act? You don't have to be like this. Remind them it's okay to show what you're feeling, because a lot of people, when they're being hurtful or negative, it's because they don't feel comfortable expressing themselves emotionally. So maybe reminding them that it's okay to show that you're hurt. It's okay to show that you're scared or angry, but it's not okay to hurt us or our body. It's not okay to lie. That breaks trust. So our goal is to build trust and build a place that's safe for all of us to exist together. And opening up and telling them that it's okay might calm some of it down, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think a safe place where someone can express themselves in safer ways and to teach those coping skills to those people is the best option to go.
Yeah.
The best route to take. Yes.
Right. And yeah, exactly what you said. It is about building coping skills. They need to learn how to cope with whatever it is that they are feeling. And yeah, help. Like, if you have some coping skills, teach them.
Yeah, for sure. Let's answer the questions in the chat.
Yeah.
It says, by Autumn, I've recently had to take over as system host since our previous host seems to want to not be anywhere near the front lately, and I'm trying to adjust and was wondering if you had any advice. Well, we switch hosts quite often in our system. It's always an ordeal. So what we have learned over the years is that it keeps happening. And so we have created a sort of manual or guide with all our information, like our bank statements and everything that we could ever possibly need for when, you know, someone has to take over hosting unexpectedly. And that has helped us greatly. So, you know, to not lose that information and to just have access to it in an easy place, no matter who is hosting, has really helped us.
Yeah.
If you don't have that yet, though, it's difficult, but it's something that you could work on because you have to figure it out anyway. It, you know, might be helpful to figure it out in a way where you can save it for future reference.
Yeah, great tip. Well, I think that my time is just about up today. So maybe if you have another question or anything that you would like to get on this live before I go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank everyone for joining us during this fundraiser. Please consider donating one-time or monthly through the link that I will post in the chat again, and will also be in the description later of this video. Unfortunately, we had a new link, so we will have to redo it, but that's okay. Thank you so much for joining, also for your questions. We hope you had fun during this event. Please send this video to your friends and your loved ones and plural allies, because we can use all the support that we can get.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, it was.
Thank you all. Had a lot of fun with everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Azzy, for joining us. And follow us on social media. We are on Facebook. We have a page there called the Plural Association. And we also have a Twitter account, which is a little bit more difficult to remember. It's TPA Nonprofit. So I will post that link in the chat as well. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, evening, night, wherever you are. And thank you again for joining and for your donations, for your time, your interest, and your support and trust. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.